You are now tuned into the best damn college football recap show going on God's green. And man, do we have a huge week. This week is the week of weeks. We have our college football playoff bracket. So much drama about all of this. We had to jump in and give it to you early. I think the thing that's funny before we get into all of it, is last week I present this idea about the bowl games. As if it was like Oppenheimer talking about atomic fission,
heresy,
nuclear power. Like we can do this as some sort of a wild theory last week, and now we released that episode on a Friday morning. It's Monday night we're recording this, and that's gone from the most insane thing you've ever heard to kind of looking like the only way that the Bulls are going to survive with the way it's going. I believe at this point, at this recording, there's probably going to be more. I think like 15 teams have opted out of playing in a bowl game. Teams don't even go anymore to these things. It was
Rutgers has rejected an invitation.
It was already arguable. Yeah, and it's not even like the teams, okay, like Notre Dame, that's a conversation. There's some conversations. There's teams like Baylor and Rutgers and these other teams that are declining going to these bowl games. And it was already, back when we used to have the BCS and all that, it was like, oh, there's too many bowls. Some of these bowls are meaningless. There were arguments like, oh, do these bowls mean anything? And back then it was like a trip for the kids. They got swag out of it. It was a cool experience. Well, these guys are getting paid now for one, so that's done. And now teams are openly declining trips to go to these things. So my big idea that I hatched, I didn't hatch it last week. I presented it to you guys last week, of moving the bowls to the first 2 weeks of the season so that everybody gets a resume boost and you maintain the sanctity of the bowls. That's all of a sudden become not just a crazy idea, but basically the only way the bowls are going to survive the way it looks now.
Yeah.
And think of that.
And of course, we're talking about bowl games, not the playoff games, obviously, and not like the Rose Bowl, stuff like that. If that does get desegmented from the college football stuff, I don't see, the big New Year's Bowls really going anywhere. Like the 4 really old ones, or the 2 that have moved. But yes, Arik, you're. It was like a wacky thought experiment, right? It was like kind of theory crafting last week, and now outside of
and 4 days later,
like I don't even know how many contracts that would have to be like rewritten, clauses added, or something that would like involve players having to play in a bowl game or something like that. But and again, we're talking about like the 90% of like teams that this makes absolutely no sense. And personally, I'll say that I don't think that it makes sense for Notre Dame to do it. We'll get into all that. I know that there's an argument to be had there. We'll get into all that. But like you said, teams like Baylor, Rutgers. Let's get a list up here. I realize I was probably not as
these teams ain't going to these bowls like outwardly at this point. It used to be a few players here and there would decline to play. They had draft stuff going on there. But now whole teams are just like, no, we're good. It don't mean nothing to us, and this doesn't mean anything to them for the reasons that I laid out. Everybody's getting paid. Everybody's getting ready for the transfer portal. They're meaningless exhibitions as far as progression in the season. They don't really provide much value to the players anymore because of the way college football is now. So, and think about how fun, we do Army-Navy this weekend, and then we could have the selection show before the game of Army-Navy where we set up next year. Like that would be, think about how fun that would be when they announce the bowl games in the, I believe the Cheez-It Bowl or the whatever one Cheez-It sponsors. It's one of the more major ones. The Michigan, it's Michigan and Texas. Like, oh, cool. Like we get to kick off the season next year with Michigan and Texas. Sweet. Like it'd be a hell of a lot more fun, right? It sounded crazy, but all these teams turning down bowls also is crazy. And it sounds a hell of a lot more fun to me than that. So I almost feel like this went from like the most harebrained thing I just threw out there last week to like maybe this might actually happen at some point. Major changes are on the way, regardless. I think you're going to get at least part of your wish. They're almost certainly going to 16 teams with this bracket next year.
I think 14 was already written in, and they'd have to like vote against it at this point with the how they do 14. I'm assuming is just less buys or the play-in that we were talking about last 100%.
So they're almost certainly going to 16 next year. Herb Street was talking about it a lot. Selection Sunday.
What does Dog say?
There's people who believe that if somebody like Herb Street is talking about that in that way, the manner in which he was, that means it's like probably already pretty much done kind
I
of
guess
thing.
he's the insider. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, and a lot of the people in the committee like support 16, and so I think that's pretty much happening. After this bit of nastiness, I guess we'll just go like 1 to 16, and the conference champions get home games. I guess that's how you could do that.
Do you take every group of 5 champion and give them a spot? Like, I'm not against that. Excuse
I
me.
mean, if you're at 16, I'd say that's what the hell you're doing 16 for. To
include all 5 group of 5 champions.
It'll be. I mean, it'll be. I don't think it's going to be that. Maybe the top 2.
Like how this year shook out. I can see top 2.
Yeah,
I genuinely feel like having 2 group of 5 teams in a college football playoff is a good thing.
yeah.
I'm not the first person to say this, folks, but oh my God, Tulane, Ole Miss, they already played this game, right? Tulane got dog walked. Oh, JMU, Oregon. This one more so, in my opinion. Oregon's going to destroy them. That doesn't fucking matter. This squad made it to the college football playoff. They have an opportunity. Their chance of making it any further past the first round is 0 if they do not play this game. And if they're not afforded that chance, if they're not afforded the opportunity to play in this game, the chance is 0. That's literally it. 1 + 1 = 0. 1 + 1 = 2 to me. The sky is blue. That is the only logic to this period in the story.
So my question to you would be, is the college football playoff a soup kitchen?
Like, just handouts? No, that's a horrible way to look at this.
Okay, no, that's cool. That's cool. I just don't know. Like, I feel you because I remember the days. Like, it was very formative years for me when like Boise State had their run and when Fresno State had their run. I would agree. I would like to see, even the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors back in the day with Colt Brennan. Like, that was a formative series of teams for me as well. So like I agree to an extent. Like I want the G5 teams to have a chance, but this whole like we're locked into we must put these teams in when there's other team. Can you show me a team that Tulane or JMU beat that was better than the teams that Notre Dame beat? Texas beat 3 top 10 teams. Tulane beat.
No, again, I would say it doesn't matter because you're taking like basically saying the other way is that saying that there is not enough talent in the entirety of the group 5 to come up with more than one football team that could beat any other teams. And again, I'm saying that doesn't matter because I don't want to lean into this idea that ESPN owns all of this and we should just kowtow and change everything about the sport to how many people are going to be watching that particular game. Oh, it's going to be a blowout. No one's going to watch. No one's going to go. I don't give a shit. This is about college football. This is about opportunities afforded to teams that did exactly what they needed to get this opportunity. Now, if it changes in the future, if it's like a group of 5 conference champion automatically gets in if they're even ranked 1 to 25, okay, I think that'd be like a nice. I think that'd be a nice middle ground, which is exactly kind of where we're at right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
With JMU and Tulane. The nightmare. Again, I'm not the first person to say this, but this entire nightmare scenario with Notre Dame, Virginia, Duke winning the ACC, all this other stuff, is due to the ACC having the worst tie-breaking rules on the planet. Why would a team with 5 losses go there while Miami's got to sit at home? Like, this is, yeah. Just I get and I get that I'm kind of arguing against the thing that I just said, right? But my original point was like, oh, JMU and Tulane, they deserve in because of the rules, because they said, okay, highest ranked conference champions, period, they're ranked, that's it, right? Logic, 1 + 1 = 2. I'm also saying on the other side of that, like kind of the opposite a little bit, the rules, it would almost make sense to deviate from that a little bit, I guess. But so I'm not being consistent, and I'll admit that.
I think if we get 16 and conference champs are in automatically as long as they are ranked. I think that's a good middle ground and provides enough wiggle room for a lot of these big boys who have, because like right at this number, and we've had it proven to us twice in a row. Because right, the argument that, and I made this argument just last week, and I heard it getting made today, is okay. Well, if you go 16, then teams 17 and 18 will be mad. The thing is with 12, we've seen it 2 years in a row. Teams 13 and 14 have legitimate resume gripes. You know what I mean? Notre Dame has gripes. Texas has gripes. It's funny to me that Texas, like, none of this has been about Texas. Texas has beat, you can roll your eyes if you want. No other team that's in here has beat 3 top 10 teams. I mean, it is what it is. It's, I don't want to get the Ohio State people on me, but like, Texas's wins are more impressive than anything Ohio State's done all year. Like, but they're got the built-in advantage. So it depends on the name. It depends on when the wins come and, carry over from last year and all that. Like, they have a resume that's worth getting pissed over. So to me, if you go to 16, sure, you might feel 17 and 18 might feel that they should be in or considered. But I just don't think generally you're going to get as strong of resumes to make that argument with at 17 and 18 as you are currently getting with 12, 13, and 14. Now, let's move to Notre Dame, who to me is going out a little bit sad. I kind of expect a little more character out of this group of people in the way that they're behaving right now with the bowl game and trashing the ACC and doing all this stuff. It was funny to me. I saw that. They did irreparable damage to the relationship with Notre. We just talked about how the ACC conference is going to miss out on $140 million revenue.
116 million is what Google said,
and they split that among the conference. If Notre Dame makes it in, they get all of it to themselves. Was Notre Dame going to share that money with the ACC? So what do they feel like they have to gripe about? Like, I don't. You know what the Notre Dame should do as far as the ACC? Join it. And then you could have won a conference championship game, and you could have gone to the playoffs. Like, somebody I saw, kind of to your point, I saw somebody bitching up a storm about, well, I guess winning the American is more important than, more valuable than 10-2 that Notre Dame won. I said, you know what Notre Dame should do? Join the American, and then they can win it, and then they can go to the playoffs
every single year, and then they would have a legitimate gripe about shit like this, right? Yeah. When you only play 5 ACC teams, you can't. And again, there is separation here. Notre Dame assumes themselves to be like a Power 2, an SEC, a Big Ten, but they played this schedule that is nowhere. I mean, literally half of it is consisted of ACC teams. It has for forever, and they play Delaware every once in a while because it's another independent. Like, I'll go through their next season schedule, and also that's the other thing. They made the schedule. I'll go through it, but they started it in November and they finalized it this month. This month, because they're not in the conference, they can do whatever the hell they want to as far as scheduling. It's just wild to me. It's absolutely wild, and this just. It's so funny that we're only hearing about the negatives and we got left out because we're and everyone's calling it because we're not in a conference game. Which you didn't play a game last week, and the team that you're really, really competing with beat you. I don't understand what the argument is. Like, I really genuinely don't understand what the argument is, because all of these strength of schedules and strength of quality losses and strength of wins and all this other shit, that comes after overall record and then head to head. Why is this even being a conversation? Why is this being we got snubbed? Because the thing is, their argument is like, our players were led to believe. What do you mean led to believe? You're adults getting paid to play a sport. It's a job. It's a career, right? Folks, in 2019 or so, right before COVID, I had the opportunity to go to Amsterdam and cast in Amsterdam, another country. I didn't get selected for that, and I was disappointed. You know what I didn't do is go on Twitter and say I'm never going to go out to another event again. I'm never going to apply for another one again, and whatever is given to me next year, I'll just take and play. That's not what I did. I said that sucks. And I went home, had a couple of beers, and the next day I went about my life, because that's what adults do when they are not afforded opportunities, right? Like this is not, there was never a contract that the NCAA wrote that said, If Notre Dame goes 10-2, then we'll have them in the playoffs. Now, of course, that's changing next year, right? Have you read about this?
I don't quite understand it. They were talking about it on McAfee today. I don't
Yeah.
100% understand how that works, but
Yeah. No.
apparently if Notre Dame is ranked in the top 12, they have an automatic bye. That's what
So
I'm
how do you
okay.
not
So,
go to 16 at that point? That's really
yeah.
the writing on the wall to me, or at least 14, but 16 probably.
So my thing is right, and we talked about this. Like they remain independent for reasons. Like there's advantages to
Dude,
this.
I would love my school to have like something like that, right?
So when it doesn't work out, there's a lot of people who are just not going to feel that bad. I had this is what I was going to say. I said you were going to like this. I had a Notre Dame person. I said, they were talking about the comparison. I said, well, thank goodness there's a pretty direct way we can compare Miami and Notre Dame. But they played and they beat them. And they said, well, things change over the course of a season, and it's supposed to be the 12 best teams now, and it would be different now. I said,
How can you say that? Like,
so the result of the imaginary game in your head should be put over the actual game that got played in real life.
and I because the end logic of that is that at best we would be tied 1-1 on the season, right? And that's like somehow argument that they should get in right here. That's like some argument to just take completely that first game and throw it out the window. We would win now, so we deserve to be in. I'm telling you, dude, it's the mental gymnastics that could get you into the Olympics. That's college football in general. Like that's nothing new. That's nothing new to me or you, right? Like the complete just bending of logic, right? Because and it's always come from the same thing because we for 100 years, right, you didn't have a formal national championship. You had a list of people who generally knew what they were talking about, say this team's number one, this team's number two, unless they happen to match up in a bowl game. That was it, right? Yeah, now you have dozens of schools claiming the same as year's national championship. That's the sport. That's where we live, and that's where we always have lived, right? Like kind of like indefinite things. But the way now that we're getting closer and closer towards like concrete stuff, and then even things as like basic, like what you were just saying, is like, oh well, we win now, so we deserve it, even though that brings the overall record this season to 1-1.
So speaking of one-on-one, that's another thing I was talking about, because I heard some Notre Dame people were pissed about Bama. I do need to say,
Oh yeah.
out of the last
Yep.
16 conference championship games, the loser of the conference championship game got moved down every single time.
Yep.
Except for one, which was Bama this weekend. So
100%.
I get some side eye to that. There's two things the committee could have fixed all this. They could have had Miami. They could have fixed their Miami Notre Dame screw up with rankings last week. For one, for two, they could have just moved Bama down from 9 to 10. Like that's all you had to do to not have it feel like favoritism. Like, geez, Louise, guys, very easy stuff. By the way, I don't support the notion that it's like some crime. Oh well, they had Notre Dame ranked over Miami, and then they didn't play, and then they switched them. I mean, I don't. If you make a mistake, you're not like committed to it. Like, if
Exactly.
it's wrong. Fix it.
That was like my end point about all of this. Like it's a show that is not definite. Like I'm trying to like understand why it's one of those things that I think is just if you throw a big enough a tantrum, then things will go your way. I genuinely think that's
No.
what a lot of this reactions
That's
have
what's going
been
to happen
because Notre Dame is not in a conference, and so that opportunity, that chance, is kind of always there. Because if another school just throws a temper tantrum and says, "Oh, we're not going to do this, this, and this," they would like the ESPN would like it to do, make a whole bunch of money, blah 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 blah. Then it just doesn't matter because just like Iowa State and Kansas State, if they don't do something and the Big 12 don't like them, they get fined $500,000, which is what just happened this morning, right?
Yeah.
That's not the case for Notre Dame. They don't have to answer to anybody but their Catholic God, right?
This got all laid out last year. Notre Dame, they have a bunch of advantages built in by being an independent, but they also have challenges. They will never get a bye. Well, it won't matter because they'll go to 16 next year, and then nobody's getting a bye. But they in this system, they will never get a bye. They might get leapfrog conference championship week. These are the things that were understood last year, but I guess it was fine because they got to make the run, so that we're never going to problem. Now that it's jumped up to bite him in the ass, It's a problem. What I was going to say also by Alabama is because they were mad about Alabama. And I was saying, to be fair, they're the only team that didn't get moved down after a conference championship out of all of them since this all began. But show me on Notre Dame. Just anybody. I invite you. Go ahead. Show me on Notre Dame's resume a win that they have that's better than Alabama going into Georgia and beating Georgia. Show me where it's at. Show me the win on Notre Dame's resume this year that's better than that.
Yeah, their best W was
Boise State. I mean, Texas A&M gift wrapped that game for them 5 different ways, and they didn't win.
Yep.
Win that game. And it's not even a conversation.
If that game happened 3 weeks ago as well, this will never be a conversation.
Yeah, like that too. Let's talk about some teams who are playing instead of teams that are crying about not playing. What do we think about these first round matchups? I guess we'll start. We can do a little bit of spread stuff too. I'm out next week, so we can probably do our spreads and our picks right now.
Okay.
Just to get ahead of it, and you guys will have this to refer back to next week when you want to. Does JMU or Tulane have the opportunity to cover these spreads? I'm not even going to let out of my mouth, do they have the opportunity to win? The Tulane thing may be a little questionable. Ole Miss did whoop the dog shit out of them the first time they played, but obviously the coaching situation is different. A lot of distractions. Who knows? Tulane's on a roll, inspired. their coach John Summerall is still there with them.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? But probably not. So we're gonna go, and then JMU. The JMU thing is awesome because they were an FCS, a Division II team, 4 years ago. They're 4 years removed. I wouldn't even. If you did that with your team builder team on College Football 26, the game, I would say it was unrealistic to go from FCS to the college football playoff in 4 seasons. That is amazing. Great shit, JMU. That being said, you are going to get your head bounced off the headboard in this game. Not just the talent gap, but Oregon, I think, is pretty not pleased about their showing in the playoff last year, and they're going to be ready to rock at home. Autzon's going to be ridiculous. This is going to be this whole thing is going to be ridiculous. A home play. We got some awesome home playoff games this year, man. Autzen for a home playoff game is going to be sick.
Yep.
Hockeyland, Texas A&M for a home playoff game is going to be one of the most bananas scenes that we have probably ever seen in modern college football. It's going to be incredible. Oklahoma, that's going to be awesome too. That's a blue blood program hosting another blue blood program home playoff game, and then Ole Miss gets their chance to show off. Man, they get to host one too.
Yep.
JMU, Tulane, do they have a chance to cover? I believe JMU is something like 25-point underdogs.
Well, I'm seeing 21, opened at 19.5. Tulane certainly sits at plus 17.5. I unironically think that JMU has a better shot of covering 21 than Tulane does for no other reason. I believe there is a skill gap between Ole Miss and Tulane. Ole Miss's offensive coordinator that went off with, and we talked about it last week. It makes zero sense to me still. You have Lane go because you're afraid he'll coach players. You have his OC back who's going to join him at LSU. Does it make zero sense?
We didn't really get into that part of this.
We didn't.
That's so stupid to me.
So stupid. So dumb.
It's not like,
oh my God.
Do you think because Lane's not here for these 3 weeks that those players aren't going to go anyways?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? What? It doesn't matter. The guys who are going to go are going to go now. As of now, they're not making any difference. The only difference you're making is now this team doesn't have their coach to go through the playoffs. That was so stupid. Anyways,
I understand why they got rid of him now. I think this is still a situation of Lane wanting his cake, or wanting to have his cake and eat it too, type stuff. Obviously, he brought and is trying to bring a whole bunch of players. He tweeted the Trinidadian flag from Trinidad, like the country. He tweeted their flag out, talking about stuff and stuff like that, which can kind of be considered Yep, tampering, talking to players when you're not supposed to, and all that stuff. But apparently, this doesn't
You
exist
think
anymore.
Chambliss isn't
There's
going to
no.
LSU? Be
I mean,
serious.
sure, but unless it's official right now, wouldn't that be something? But these are things that are not illegal anymore. There's not monopoly laws in America anymore, apparently. Anyway, we just say these things are illegal and then just keep on going on with our lives.
Yeah.
Talking about this, I think Tulane has a lot more. Or I think Ole Miss has a lot more to prove because they lost their head coach. And this is an OC. If he goes out, shines out right here, would it really be
Yeah.
that bad a thing for him to backstab Lane, which would be a fantastic in saga of
I
this,
actually
right?
heard that brought up in other places
Yeah,
that I listen to sports talk. Is this is playing with house money for these assistants. If they show out without Lane, it's
Charles
going to be
Weiss,
huge for their profiles and for what their potential prospects.
Charlie Weiss.
Yeah,
That's
Charlie Weiss.
the guy's
Yeah.
name. So staying there. And so he's got an opportunity to show out, like you said, playing with house money here. If he does bad, doesn't matter. He'll go over to LSU. He can even whisper sweet nothing in Lane's ears, like, "Oh, they did you dirty, baby," and so I made sure that they absolutely shit the bed in the playoffs, right? Or he shows out,
Yeah.
shines out, gets
Yeah.
players to stay there who might have been going to LSU otherwise, and then Ole Miss builds the man a statue before the first kickoff next year. There's really not a lose-lose right there. I think Tulane's a fantastic team. What they did in North Texas's offense, they just can like very, very good shutdown plays. Now, I will say, me and you were both watching that game, dude.
Yep.
That what interception return in the end zone. Mestamaker comes back, knocks the ball out.
Oh my
The ball is like
God.
rolling across this guy's body as he's going over into the end zone. Every sane football fan on the face of the planet knows this is a touchback. I'll admit I kind of hate those rules sometimes, like how that goes, and it's just like this minor thing. This was not a close call. This was not a he failed to grasp at the last second, or he let go of a little bit, like the Ohio State thing a few weeks ago, right? That seemed pretty blatant, but that was not this. This was blatant. This was off of his body.
When Nestamaker hit him, his entire body was outside of the end zone. So if you hit someone and your whole body is out of the end zone and then they fumble into the end zone, it is not physically possible for them to have scored a touchdown because the ball was on the far side of your body, which was not in the end zone. I don't understand the physics, like how it's even possible to get that call as wrong as they got it. But in any case,
and the kick catch interference.
So talk to me about why you got JMU possibly covering this 21.
I hate saying this because I hate making the assumption that Dan Lanning and Oregon are going to make the same mistake they made last year, which was looking ahead a little bit too much, in my opinion, and preparing for the next game, assuming you're going to win this one, right? And so I like Dan Lanning. I think he is a good head coach, and I don't think he's going to commit the same mistakes. But I don't think Oregon needs to dedicate the same resources here because they don't necessarily need to make the same statement as Ole Miss does at home against Tulane, a team and that's the other big thing is that they've already played, right? Obviously I think that Lane Kiffin is a swell coach. I think that a lot of his value came obviously from the offense, and Lane Kiffin himself is more of an offensive minded coach, right? And so you're getting the better part of Lane, and the players are still there. And again, Tulane and Ole Miss have already played, and they absolutely destroyed them, right? JMU, and again, the storyline for JMU, man, 4 years ago, hanging out and well, it's not D2, but hanging out in the FCS, right? How honestly amazing is that, and how an amazing a story. Do I think JMU is going to beat Oregon? No, I do not. No, I do not, folks. Do not take that plus 1250 or whatever it is on the money line.
Well, what we were just talking about,
gun to my head between the two, to Tulane or JMU, I would definitely take JMU to cover the plus 21.
But now we are going to talk money lines.
Sure.
The U, do they got any shot at Texas A&M? I will say, do they got any shot? Yeah, they got a shot because this is the team that was down, what was it, 28-0 against South Carolina. At the end of the day, Miami has a damn fine offensive line, and they have a top, I don't know what, it goes all over the place depending on the week. But they have a top 100 NFL draft pick quarterback as well. We'll go top 100. He'll go in the first 3 rounds. They have a good offensive line. They have a good running game. They have a top 100 quarterback. They're talented. So, yeah, I would say the U has a shot down there in Aggie Land. That said, the level of piss in the cups of these guys after getting beat again by Texas, I think was the worst thing that could happen for Miami. As now that's going to be that little swift kick in the ass to maybe reignite the fire after that saggy performance against South Carolina and then dropping the loss to Texas. I think they're going to be motivated. I think they're going to be ready to rock, ready to get back on track. So that makes me say that I don't think the U is going to pull it off. I got Texas A&M. What do you think, man?
We are chilling at a -4 for Texas A&M. I view this as to be a high-scoring game, and I do think that Texas A&M covers that. I also think, man, just to be honest, like I love the Tulane story, I love the JMU story. Okay, this Alabama-Oklahoma game is basically just an SEC regular season matchup, and again, they've already played this, and Oklahoma won. This is by far the game that I'm most excited to watch, honestly. And I'm not even necessarily saying it's going to be the closest one. I could definitely see Alabama, Oklahoma being the closest one here, but this is definitely hands down what I'm most excited. You know what I'm saying? The best the ACC has to offer, and Texas A&M, who outside of the Texas game and outside of the game with us where they played like middle school level football for a half.
Is give you enough to maybe go Miami, or you feel pretty good about Texas A&M?
Would have to yeah, I'd have to look a little bit better at the at any injury reports and stuff like that. But yeah, honestly, for the reason that you said, Texas A&M has, I feel like they're gonna have a fire lit inside of them after the Texas loss, after the almost embarrassing finish at my alma mater at the University of South Carolina, and there's got a little bit more to win. And again, Kyle Field is going to be electric.
Insane.
My God,
And the way that this bracket
112,000
fell,
seating.
oh yeah, it's going to exceed it. The way this bracket fell, there's some interesting stuff. Like if Texas A&M wins and they go on, this Texas A&M and Ohio State after that, that's big boy stuff right there. That's
that's a matchup we were talking about across the middle of the season as Texas A&M was continuing to go undefeated, as was Ohio State. Obviously, Ohio State and Texas A&M both with a single loss. One
the fact that they ended up on the same side of the bracket and right next to each other is that's crazy. On the other side,
Oregon,
Alabama,
Tech, dude.
Oklahoma, interesting stuff. Shout out to our number one seed, by the way, Indiana. The only person on the show last week that said that they were going to pull it off was myself, and they did. So, I mean, it's not
That's
like
true. I said cover, not win. If
pretty crazy missed field goal. I ain't saying like they whooped them, but still a badass performance. The old Sig man. That's what we do, baby. Oklahoma and Alabama, two blue bloods, two teams from another era that are still getting it done in this era. Yeah. What do you think, man? Is Alabama going to be able to go in there and pull this off after maybe getting a little bit of motivation from everybody talking shit about them, not deserving to be in, and licking their wounds from the Georgia game, and maybe there's some stuff there. What do you think, Alabama and Oklahoma?
Let's see. So reasons to take. I'll just do kind of reasons to do both, and then I'll give you what I think is going to happen. Excuse me. Alabama with a similar situation just got walloped by Georgia in the second half of that conference championship game, so a lot to play for. Ty Simpson's also an incredibly talented quarterback, and the passing game for Alabama has been superior over almost every other team within the FBS this season. He's got plenty of options, wide receiver, plenty of options. Otherwise, as well, just the rushing has kind of come up a little bit short, which is where I changed this narrative around a little bit. John Mateer looked like shit after the surgery, has definitely looked a little bit better since then. And Oklahoma's defense has not missed a beat. Yes, obviously, the Texas game, whenever this happens in a rivalry, you have to look at it a little bit about the non-tangibles, though, folks. Just like Ohio State and Michigan. Now, I'm not saying Ohio State is as good as everyone says they are, right? I agree with you. I think that yes, they're undefeated through the regular season. Yes, they also had a Charmin soft schedule. Number two,
they played a real team and got beat. That's crazy, huh?
Exactly. A real team possibly the best team in college football. I will give that over to Indiana. I'm not going to say it definitively 100%, but possibly the best team in Indiana.
Alabama and Oklahoma. What do we got?
Oh, sorry, I'm jumping all around here. Yes, I like Oklahoma here. The current line is 1.5. Love that for Oklahoma. They've already done this. John Mateer and the issues they had, they're going to be working on literally right now. They're going to be working on this weekend when we could have other football games besides Army Navy, as Arik and I were talking about. Well, I love Oklahoma by 2 at home.
Okay, you do.
Yes.
Analysis. You think
We just saw Alabama get when a team goes in with such a one-dimensional offense and there's at least a half-decent defense on the other side. I'm describing Auburn here, not Oklahoma. Then we kind of see what happened, which was Auburn getting ahead by 7 and having to rely on their defense, getting a last-second pick to completely shut down the Auburn game. Okay, run the clock out. That is not a situation there for Oklahoma. This Oklahoma defense is real and real angry.
okay, I like it. I'll take Oklahoma at home.
Yes,
And
and
maybe
again,
Alabama shows up and gets something done. Hope you're referring back to this in both weeks. We appreciate you tuning in. Listen to us rage on about this stuff. I think we mostly got it right. And, I look forward to 16, and I
100%.
look forward to bowl games in August. Let's get it. This is United Football Media. Tell me about it.